chorus of hate being leveled at the president is nearing a crescendo as Democrats blame him and only him for a virus that originated halfway around the world. This is yet another attempt to impeach the president. And sadly, it seems they care very little for any of the destruction they are leaving in their wake. Losses in the stock market. All this, unfortunately, just part of the political casualties for them. You know, this is a time to be united, not to be pointing fingers, not to be encouraging hate. And yet, what do we see? We see the absolute opposite from the left tonight. Good evening, everyone. I am Trish Riggin. The hate is boiling over. Many in the liberal media using, and I mean using, coronavirus in an attempt to demonize and destroy the president.
I don't think the president is capable of telling us the truth about the coronavirus.
They have no plan. They have no plan. The virus is going to kill Americans regardless of their stupidity.
This administration right now looks like they couldn't organize a one-car parade. He is not going to be able to have his rallies, and it is going to psychologically torment him.
The president should lead, or else he should get out of the way. Stay on the golf course.
This may be Donald Trump's Katrina.
Yeah.
This is an event that could take down a president.
There's no confidence in the president in anything he says or does. I wish he would just be quiet.
I see. This is impeachment all over again. And like with the Mueller investigation, like with Ukraine Gate, they don't care who they hurt. Whether it be their need to create mass hysteria to encourage a market sell-off, unlike anything we've seen recently, or whether it be to create mass hysteria in order to stop our economy dead in its tracks. Don't kid yourself.
Now, let's just be clear here, and I hope that Republicans are watching this too, because it's important they hear it when I say this. No, coronavirus isn't Trump's fault. And despite what Trish Regan and Fox News and congressional Republicans and the White House may say while yet again crying victim, no one is saying that it is. Because while the virus itself might not be Trump's fault, what's Trump's fault is declining to use the World Health Organization test like countless other nations. Virologists in Berlin had produced the first diagnostic test for the disease all the way back in mid-January. And by the end of February, the WHO had shipped tests to nearly 60 countries. But not the United States, because our government decided to decline the tests. We didn't even use them as a bridge until the CDC could produce its own test. And so we were left with a delay that continues to this day, during which those who carry the virus have been able to spread it for months without knowing who was infected. Now, the reason why we didn't use the WHO test is still unclear, but when we eventually get an answer, I'd look at what pharmaceutical company in the US was tasked with producing the test and who owns stock in that company. Because if one thing is certain, it's that our healthcare system moves for no one and nothing unless money is involved. What's Trump's fault is firing Tim Ziemer, the senior director of global health security at the National Security Council, before ordering the NSC's entire global health security unit shut down. He fired Tom Bossert, Homeland Security Advisor on the NSC, who coordinated the response to global pandemics, and Dr. Luciana Borio, the NSC's Director for Medical and Biodefense Preparedness, also left the NSC. Ziemer was never replaced, Bossert was never replaced, and Borio was never replaced. What's Trump's fault is proposing a 19% cut to the CDC, including a 10% cut to public health scientific services, a 3% cut to public health preparedness and response programs, and a roughly 7% cut to global health programs. He even cut funding to the CDC's epidemic prevention programs in 39 out of 49 countries, including China. What's Trump's fault is appointing not an expert, not a doctor, but Mike Pence to oversee the US response. The man who, as governor of Indiana, enabled the worst HIV outbreak in state history because of his own gross mismanagement, and then expecting the American people to feel secure about that decision. What's Trump's fault is sowing doubt about the severity of the virus, even using the word hoax at rallies and events, including ones where the virus was being spread.
One of my people came up to me and said, "Mr. President, they tried to beat you on Russia, Russia, Russia. That didn't work out too well. They couldn't do it. They tried the impeachment hoax. That was on a perfect conversation. They tried anything. They tried it over and over. They've been doing it since you got in. It's all turning. They lost. It's all turning. Think of it. Think of it. And this is their new hoax. But, you know, we did something that's been pretty amazing. We're 15 people in this massive country. And because of the fact that we went early. We went early. We could have had a lot more than that. We're doing great. Our country is doing so great. We are so unified. We are so unified.
He did this when he should have been warning people, especially older and immunodeficient people, to avoid crowded areas, to forego unnecessary contact, and to keep themselves healthy. Instead, they got zero useful information from him because he was too hell-bent on playing down the impacts so that the stock market didn't get spooked, which would deprive him of a precious talking point. What's Trump's fault is pretending it was contained to avoid political fallout. What's Trump's fault is teasing tax cuts to avoid political fallout. What's Trump's fault is leaving a cruise ship full of Americans at sea for days to avoid political fallout. Democrats don't blame him for the virus, we blame him for gutting our country's preparations to deal with it. We blame him for bungling testing and allowing it to spread uninhibited. We blame him for using our hard-earned tax dollars not to keep us safe in the event of a pandemic like we're seeing now, but on priorities that would serve as better applause lines at rallies, like his wall. We blame Trump for putting his political life over Americans' actual lives.